everybody, welcome back to Watch and Carry. So in today's video we're going to be moving away from the world time of Casio and going for a new mod on a new line of watch to me. This is the Casio, let's see if I can get that in screen there, A158. Found this for about $6 at my local Walmart and just really like this cream kind of tan color, almost like a beige on the face of the watch, and just thought, oh man, this just looks so cool. I have to find a nice colored filter to complement that. So what we're going to do today is just take apart the watch, choose a colored filter, and reassemble and see if we can come up with a really cool mod design. So before we get started, wrist check today. No Casio on the wrist today. I've got my Seiko on. This is a Seiko Presage SSA397 Zen Garden, called the Zen Garden because you can see that textured dial almost looks like the moss green that you would find in a Zen Garden. And I've got this paired to, of course, Timex MK1 olive strap in leather. And it's a really good mix of green and brown in here, especially this brown picking up that power reserve hand right there. All right, so for colored filter, it's kind of hard to match. I think this color, I'll just call this beige, because it's just such a unique color. I don't find too many beige Casio watches. So this is where having the Lee's sample book, this is called a swatch book, comes in handy. Now, a few people have said, why even get a swatch book? It's so useless because they're so small. Like, why not just get a bigger sheet? Well, the whole idea here is that you're getting something for about $5 or $10 depending on where you live. And if you're not sure what colored filter you want, you don't want to commit to a $10 purchase of a giant sheet that you're probably never going to use. So by having the sample color, you can kind of play around. Like today, I'm not really sure what color is going to go. Find that color, do a mod. If you like it, then you can go ahead and just look for that item code and then order that big sheet off of eBay or Lee's website or whatever colored filter you use. So I went through this whole swatch book. Cream is, or beige is the color here, and out of all the colors I found, this one seemed to go the best. So, I'm not the best at pairing colors, but my line of thinking is you have a very soft color here with the beige. Okay, not very bold, not very bland. It's kind of in between. It's almost kind of like a matte finish. It's not too much of a shiny, polished out color. So I wanted that same thing. I wanted a color that was a little bit more subdued, a little bit more of a cream finish, and this cosmetic blue, code number 191, is what I found. Okay, and you can see here it kind of has a frosty finish. So if you kind of go to like some of these other filters, like here, I know this is a different color, but this amber, you see how the Lee is pretty crisp between the lettering and the white background, and here it's more soft. It's not as crisp. So I think that softness of this filter adds a little bit to the softness of the beige color that you're going to be finding. So we're going to be using that color today and seeing how that comes out. So the first thing we're going to do is disassemble this watch so we can keep the bracelet on for this one. Just put down a clean microfiber towel there. Take your micro screwdriver. Okay, and we've got these 4 machine screws in the back. And by the way, everything from the watch to the swatch book, I'm going to put links for them down in the description below. Okay, there's your cover. Down that brightness just a bit. Okay, now when it comes here, I'm going to remove the O-ring just so I can show you that. Okay, that's kind of what it looks like there. Now you'll notice with the O-ring, you're going to have an underside. Okay, and you're going to have a top side. So it does matter which way you put this in, so I'll show that to you later. Okay, when it comes to your module, you're going to take something soft, preferably not metal. This is the 12 o'clock, by the way. This is the 6. Let's get this brightness dialed up a bit. So what I like to do here is go with the 6 lift up the watch just a tad, and then go to this small hole here, and I just have a toothpick. I'm not putting it in all the way, and I'm just going to lift up gently on this module. Grab it by the sides. Try not to grab the other side of the display, and there you go. That's your module. Okay, now what's kind of cool here from Casio is this insert. So let's get really zoomed in here. There we go. So you have this plastic, obviously, and then you have this almost like foam-like material around the outside. And what's kind of cool about this is it's actually a little bit sticky. Okay, especially here on the sides, it's actually a little bit sticky, so I don't have to use any double-sided tape. I don't have to use any glue. I can just go ahead and cut my filter out slightly larger than the display window, obviously. You don't want to cut it out the same size. It should be slightly overlapped. And then just kind of set that filter inside and let the pressure of the module and the stickiness of that material kind of adhere that filter down. So very easy to work with. So you have to measure this out. You can't remove anything further from here, so you just have to take a rough measurement from the outside. So I'm going to take my centimeter ruler here, and I want to kind of, again, overlap. So width-wise, you're looking right about there to about there. So that's about what, let's cut more than we need to. We can always trim down. So about 2.4 millimeters wide. And then height. Okay, there we go. You're looking at about 1.5 millimeters. So 2.4 by 1.5. Okay, we'll go ahead and cover that loosely for now. So we limit the amount of dust going in there. Okay, let's go to our leaf filter over here. Okay, and then what you'll do here, I've already done it off camera, is you're going to measure that amount. So I would go ahead and grab like a Sharpie. Usually a fine tip Sharpie is what you want to use. Okay, and then I would measure, 2.4 width-wise, and then 1.4, 1.5 height. And then after that, I would go ahead and cut out the filter. So I've already done that off camera. I'm trying to do some of these things off camera because I think it's self-explanatory and it just kind of saves on the length of the film. So go ahead and cut your filter out. And then once you have your filter cut out, go ahead and take your watch again. Okay, just remember which side is which. So that's the 12 o'clock side on the left. Okay, here's my cutout filter. Okay, and then what I like to do is I take an air blaster. This will be in the description below. And I'll just go ahead and blast the filter gently to remove any dust. If you have any fingerprints, take a clean microfiber cloth like this. You can set the filter down, cover it, and then gently rub your finger over it. Make sure not to put any wrinkles because wrinkles are permanent on the filter. It's pretty fragile. And then after you're done wiping the fingerprints, give it another blast with this. Okay, so we'll set that here. That's dusted and ready to go. We'll take our watch, turn this upside down, give it a blast, take out any dust that might be in there. Again, set that down, 12 o'clock on the left. We'll take our filter and just set this down inside. Now this one I've already trimmed, so it's a little bit shorter than those measurements that I quoted earlier. So once you lay the filter in there, things you want to check for, make sure that let's try to get this in focus. There we go. Make sure that the size of the filter is larger than the size of the display window. Okay. And then you want to trim it so that way the filter doesn't extend too far beyond the white borders here. Because if it does, when you insert the watch module, it will bend the filter up. And then we'll just go ahead and kind of adjust this filter in. If your filter is a little bit larger than mine, than what I trimmed mine to be, that's really not that big of a deal. There, perfect. So if you look here, it's kind of hard to see on camera. Let's see if I can get some brightness up. There we go. If you follow the darker line, you see that it's inside the border of the filter on that side, on that side, on that side, and on that side. So that looks pretty good to me. Maybe just a hair lower. Great. Okay, once that's in place, you can go ahead and tap gently on the sides of the filter, and that will push it against the adhesive, that white adhesive. That's what's really nice. You see here I can kind of shake my watch and the filter stays in place because of that adhesive backing. Okay, now that's in place. So what we'll do is, again, we'll take our air blaster, gently kind of blast this from top to bottom. Okay, that looks good. We'll set that down, take our watch module, go ahead and give that a quick blast of air away from your watch. Okay, then before you assemble this, you're going to push out your pushers. So this is really important. Sorry for the reflection. It's just such a shiny finish on the watch. So you have a pusher here, here, and here. So you want to push these inside to out. So if you look at this one, see that? I did that and the button popped out. And that one usually always stays popped out. You want to get those as flush with the inside of the case as possible, because otherwise the module will get stuck. Take your module, turn it this way, then rotate it this way. Okay, and we're going to insert this down at the 6 o'clock. I find is a little bit easiest, kind of like that. Okay, and then just push it down gently. If you feel that it's not sitting down easily, that could mean that one of these 3 pushers is still inside. So don't force it. Just take it out and push those pushers back towards the outside. Okay, once that's in place, go ahead and let's see, where did my tool go? We're going to go to these contacts here. You have 1, 2, and 3. These are the metal contacts that interact with the pusher on this side and the module on this side. So let's really zoom in here. Here's one of them. It's this long, thin piece of metal. I'm going to go ahead and just push down with my finger here. And while I'm applying some pressure, pull inward on the tool. Like that. Good. And then the other one, and then the other one. And what that's doing is really making the pusher sit in front of that contact, so it interacts with the module properly. So now that's in place. We're going to go to our O-ring now, and as I mentioned before, this O-ring is actually, you know what, before we do the O-ring, flip this over, just put a little pressure on the back, and let's take a look at our watch. I'm kind of spoiling it here because the watch is not assembled, but at this point you want to kind of check the watch. So there's that color, really cool. I think just goes so well. Okay, I'll compliment a little bit more on that later, but you want to check for dust at this point, fingerprints. So in the light, I kind of like to rotate it up, down, left, and right. If your filter was cut too short and you kind of tilt it to the side, you'll be able to see where that filter stops and where that white background begins. So that's why we like to keep our filters a little bit overlapping, so that as you're turning your watch to your side, you still see the filter. So that looks good. That looks clean. I don't see any dust. So now I can turn the watch back over. 12 o'clock over here. We're going to take our O-ring, and if you look at the O-ring here, you've got 2 sides. So you have this side here where it's relatively flat, okay, and then you have another side here. I'll turn this right over, and you'll notice on this side there's a little bit of a tooth here, this really thin black part, okay. So the tooth side is going to go down towards the module. The flat side is going to face towards you. So here's the tooth side right now facing me. We're going to flip this back over, okay, like so, and you're going to arrange it like this. You'll notice that the thin sides are here at like the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock, and then you have these fatter portions that are on the opposite side. So let's zoom out here, zoom in again, take your O-ring, flat side is facing you right now, and just gently lay that down. Okay, if the O-ring, by the way, seems quite dry, like if this is an older watch for you, you can take a little bit of 100% silicone oil and rub it between your fingers sparingly. Run the O-ring through the length of your fingers. Just be careful not to stretch the O-ring. Be very, very gentle. And then wipe off the excess and you can reinsert the O-ring back in. Okay, so O-ring is in. Now, once this O-ring is in, it's not like the World Time where it just sits in a trough really easily. You have to kind of push this O-ring down. So once you get it in its general area, go ahead and move to something else. And this is a very blunt toothpick, by the way. Don't use anything sharp because it'll damage the O-ring. And so I'm just gently tapping this O-ring along the perimeter. And you'll notice that it kind of sits down a little bit more flush with the back of this case. Okay, kind of take your finger to push down a bit. Okay, and there you go. It's good to go. Then we'll take our case back. Okay, again, this is the 12 o'clock position, so this is how I orient my case. Take the case there, line up the holes. Once the holes are lined up, okay, go ahead and we're going to grab our screws. That looks pretty good. Here's the screw. Screws are all the same size, so it does not matter which one goes where. These are a little bit hard to grab. Go. Probably helps if you don't have 2 cups of coffee in the morning, a little bit shaky. Okay, go ahead and loosely tighten down these 4 screws. Okay, now before I fully tighten, I'm going to lift up. I'm going to check the seam between the case back and the case. Make sure I don't have any of that O-ring popping up, especially with this one compared to the World Time. It's a little bit easier to trap that O-ring and pinch it. So that looks good. Now I'm going to fully tighten. Again, not too tight because these are plastic or resin threads, not metal. Okay, that's fully tightened. And let's go ahead and take a look at our work. Flip this guy over. And there we go. That's the filter. Let's give you guys a end-to-end shot over here. Go. Really cool effect on this filter. It almost looks, the backlight on this is actually yellow, so but on some Casios, like I think there's another A series that has a blue backlight, and this filter makes it look like there's a backlight that's blue that's always turned on. So I kind of like that. It gives it the effect of an always on backlight, which is really cool. Okay, and then there's the rest of the watch. Okay. So I'll say that filters in general are always going to cut down on the visibility of your watch, especially if you go negative, which is more of a polarizing filter mod. But sometimes you have a filter like amber or yellow that gives better contrast. So expect to see a little bit less visibility with the numerals on this type of filter. But you're purely doing this for aesthetics. This has no real function whatsoever besides just adding a cool color to your watch. Okay, but still very legible. Okay, really cool frosted blue look. And I think it just goes so well with that beige dial. Very soft colors, and yet enough contrast to differentiate between the two. So there you go. So there you go, guys. Really quick mod, very, very affordable watch. I think, unfortunately, right now on Amazon, these are over 20 bucks. I've seen this thing go as low as $13. So if it's expensive on Amazon, just wait, check out Walmart. Usually the store has a better sale than the website for Walmart. So at the time of buying this, it was $15 more if I had bought it from the Walmart website versus my local store. And then the links for all of these, again, I'll put down below. If you like this filter design, I'm also going to put the eBay seller where I buy the bigger sheets from. It comes in a huge, huge roll, and I think it's only one size. But if this is a color that you like and you want to make some more mods for you or your family or friends, I think it's about 10 bucks for a really big sheet. So you get a lot of projects out of that filter, and very, very easy to do. All right, guys, any comments or questions, please put them down below. If you could subscribe to this YouTube channel as well as my couple of Instagrams down in the description, that would be greatly appreciated. And as always, have fun, and I'll see you guys on the next one.